Um, Capitalism is evil. I don't know if you guys know this. It's bad. It's a bad and evil thing that makes people behave in bad and evil ways. Um, and well, you can kind of tell that because the people who hold power under capitalism uh, think it's a good idea to broadcast their ideas to the entire world, and they do so with an air of smugness to it and banality that is surprising, even. Um, but you can tell that it's evil and bad, the system. Because when these people talk about upholding it, they talk about making people suffer. Just blatantly and without any kind of, you know, air to it.
For Dami Mommy Jack and her shiny boots BWAA Ha'a Ha'a Bawa Ha'a Ha'a BWA.
Thank you very much, KBS. Thank you for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Thank you very, very much. But you can see it. Like they talk about people like you would livestock. They talk about human life. And it's just, you know, like just a casual shrug that millions of people will have to suffer and die. Well, so, you know, they can make a bit more money. They, you know, they want to make a bit more of the money. Like you can't write villains as if they were real world capitalists, because in the real world capitalists are cartoonishly evil. You know? That is a fundamental reality, you know? And I as evidence, right? I present to you this 1 minute long clip. Okay, this is Tim Gurner, founder and CEO of Gurner Group. And this is at a property summit for Financial Review. Okay? Here you go. He's your champion of capitalism.
I think the problem that we've had is that we've...
For the love of God, Twitch. Or Twitter.
Yeah, we have... People decided they didn't really want to...
Oh my God! You know what? You know what? I'm gonna do it.
Work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue.
Nope. 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 Do it right now.
I think the problem that we...
Well, I literally downloaded the video in real time. Here you go.
We've had is that we have... People decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. You know, tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. You know, they have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, you know, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
I just have to say, like, this guy is such the epitome of like a demon in a skin suit. You know, like when we talk about people, you know, people like nowadays will look back at like the French Revolution and just like shake their heads like, oh, how could it get so bad? Well, imagine if this is what you were surrounded with, okay? Like, if this guy was like every person of a certain class that you interacted with, you would also want violence. You would want blood. This guy is just, and people listening or watching might just be like, oh, Jack, you're being too harsh. No, it's just like he's literally advocating for millions of people to be destitute. He's arguing for millions of people to suffer. He's arguing for people to die. Who are the people most likely to be unemployed? To be kicked out of their jobs when things start contracting? It's the elderly, people with disabilities, minorities. Like, he's just, like, sitting on this stage being like, we need 50% more unemployment. We need 50% more unemployment. He is, like, sitting on a stage basically saying, well, our workers are lazy and, they don't know how good they have it. They think we should be grateful to them. Like, motherfucker, you don't have a company without those employees. You don't move a paper from your desk without a secretary, okay? Soon as all of those people are gone, you're fucked, bucko. You got no skills. Your skills are moving imaginary piles of money. Which frankly is, to some degree, a skill set, but also, like, if it's a skill set you think makes you better than anyone else, then, like, I don't know what to tell you. I think people might be justified in hating you. This dude has maids clean his shit too. Yeah, of course. Oh, I can't play that video. 60 Minutes, like, instantly jibs you with the MCA. Like, he's talking about materially destroying people's lives. And he's just casually up here just being like, here, you know what, if you don't want to take my word for it, let's break down what he just said.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and
so the problem we're having is that our workers decided they didn't want to work as much when a deadly illness was killing millions of people around the world. Also, again, keep in mind the amount of time people worked has been inching up in the United States for a very long time now. But people just don't want to work as much. They just don't want to work anymore, guys.
That has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much.
We're paying these ungrateful, lazy workers too much. Again, like, this is no different, by the way, than the arguments made by literally every boss under capitalism. You heard arguments about like this? You heard arguments like this from slave owners. They'd talk about slaves. Oh, they have it so good. They have it so good under me, and they just aren't working as hard. We need to, I guess we'll need to lash them some more. Like, it's the same shit repackaged over and over and over again. And that they've been given so much, and they're still so lazy. They should be grateful. It's disgusting,
In the last few years, and we need to see that change. We
need to see that change. We need to pay them a little to do a lot.
We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40-50%, in my view.
We have to kick more people out of jobs and put more people on the streets. Put more children into poverty and starvation. because, we need people to be suffering, so they'll agree to take a lower wage. That's what he's advocating for. He's literally saying people need to suffer more so they will tolerate working more for less.
We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind.
We need to see pain in the economy, by the way. It translates to, we need people to be struggling to pay their bills. We need people who can't afford to keep the heat on. We need people who can't afford to turn on the air conditioning. In the American South. We need to make sure that people can't make the trip to their grocery store because gas is, they just can't afford the gas. So they have to go shop at the 7-Eleven. Like this guy is sitting there saying this because he has the perverse incentive of a capitalist. Capitalism makes this guy. This guy is interchangeable with literally any capitalist currently alive. Okay? Completely interchangeable with any one of those people who have been forged by this system to exist.
People that they work for the employer, not the other way around.
We need to remind people that they work for an employer, that we own you. You should be grateful that you work for us, because if you go anywhere else, you will suffer in the process.
I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them.
Yeah. Workers are valuing their labor, and that's a real big problem for us, because if the labor organizes, then we're fucked.
As opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole...
We have got to kill the attitude that workers have that they are valuable. We have to kill that by making the economy suffer, which is just a fancier way of saying by making working people suffer. He's just arguing that we should inflict starvation, medical woes, desperation onto workers so that they will work for us for peanuts. They will work for scraps and scrip, and they will like it.
Global, the world is trying to do, the governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue, because
we have to see, workers who undervalue their labor, because only by undervaluing their labor will we be able to pay them less and still reap massive, ever-growing benefits. Also, just as a notable headline, because I'm not subscribing to this magazine, Financial Review, again, the people who put on this property summit, Gerner got his start with loans from his boss and grandfather. So yeah, arrogant employees, lazy employees. Man, this guy literally got his start with a handout from his boss, who was also his grandfather. Again, you hear stuff like this, and I'm sorry. Like, this guy should just be stripped of like his worldly possessions and sent on like some sort of, I don't know, journey of self-discovery, but also all of his assets then divided up among like the working people of America, or Australia, I guess. He's Australian. But like, God. And by the way, if you are someone who is a capitalist and you happen to have stumbled across this stream, right? I can't believe how utterly cucked you are. You'll defend this guy. right? You'll be out there being like, but you think like you deserve the wealth he has to be redistributed. It's just like this guy is literally advocating for you and your family to be homeless so that he can make more money. Like, that's essentially what he's doing here. And you're defending him. Absolute clowns. Absolute goddamn clowns. This guy gets off on making people suffer. Yeah, it's honestly the movie with what's it called with the box that opens a portal to hell. What's it called? Has the guy with like pins and needles coming out of his face. Honestly, it'd be way more accurate for this guy to come out of that box. All right, way more evil. Way more evil. Hellraiser. Yes, thank you. Thank you, very knifey duck, for understanding the point I was going for. Heel Razor. I'd shit myself. And he'd like it. It just like, oh. The amount of it entitled he feels to your work is wild. He's the dude in Hellraiser 2 who gets converted. Okay, I'm not that familiar with the franchise. I'm sorry.
That will cascade across the cost balance.
Yeah, we need you to suffer so that we make a greater profit. Actual villain shit.